Good morning again. That's twice. Hey, if you are between the ages of 3 years old through to second grade, if you could converge, let me just stand here. Converge on me, come here. And Morgan in the back, raise your hand, Morgan. You're going to go to Morgan, right there, and she will take you back for we followers. Parents, if you did not register your child, you can follow with them and register your child for today. Javon, it's so good to see you, Javon. There we go. Now we're herding dogs, so we're a little bit better, Yeah, last week was cats. Last week, we had the pleasure of having Dr. Collett Varner come and preach for us. He was a pastor here in the 80s, and he was Mike's and myself's preaching and Katie's preaching pastor. I think Leah had him for some class. I don't know what it was. Senior class, whatever. Great guy. And so many of you, as he was telling those stories, you were like, I remember that. I was there for that. And it was it was great to see the kind of your posture change as he's telling a story, and you're like, yeah, I was there for that. And some of you, maybe you weren't there, but you knew the people involved, people who maybe aren't here today, and you were like, I know them. That's from a movie, sorry. And it was exciting, right? And Dr. Varner, he was talking about the past, because he was beginning a series that we're starting called Past, Present, and Future. And the past is a beautiful thing. I heard tell in our small group a couple of weeks ago, one of them said, the older we get, the more past we have than future. And so sometimes we can look at the past and we can get stuck there. And the same is true of the future, though, right? We can think of the future and we can get stuck there. It's going to come, and we're already planning, and we're already making those decisions way in advance. And there's something in between that's missing, and that's the present. And Varner, I call him Varner, Dr. Varner, he mentioned those memoriams, right? Those stones that the Israelites placed to commemorate, to remember a moment when God did something incredible. And how for the Israelites, there were times when they wanted to go back to that moment. They wanted to go back to that place, because in their minds, in their hearts, it's almost like they felt this is the only time that God can do something. This is the only place that God will work. This is the only way that it happens. And they've become leashed to the stone. They're tethered to it. And they always come back to it. And so when that happens, our past can weigh us down. Because the memory, the stone, is to remember not just what God did, but what God can and will do again. And so if we're living with our backs to the future and our face towards the past, we're never moving ahead. And there's a challenge, because some of us are just built. We just think about the past. Now I'm a future thinker, which isn't really a good thing either. I can spend hours and hours dreaming of the future. They call that wasting time. And so we can, I'll think of all kinds of ways, of places I want to already be. And with Big Lake or with myself or whatever, and staff have to kind of ask questions like, well, how are you going to get there? I don't know, but I want to already be there. I'm the kind of guy on a trip, from point A to point B, there's nothing in between but a waste of my time and energy. I want to get there. I don't want to have to, like some of you are like, I'm a journey kind of person. It's all an adventure. No, I want to put my kids in the back when they're going to fall asleep, give them Benadryl. I'm just kidding. But seriously, and just keep driving. I don't want to stop every 5 minutes for a potty break. Elite has to go, I'm sorry. UTI is fine, whatever, we're not going to stop. If I have to go, we're stopping. Because I'm just that kind of guy. But there's something missing in both of those ways of looking at life. It's the present. Nothing wrong with the future. It's coming, like it or not. Nothing wrong with the past. It happened. It affects us. But we can't live there because we live, like it or not, in the present. James chapter 4, and I want to just stop real quick. In your bulletins, you have sermon notes. That's twice in a month, in 4 weeks, you're welcome. And I've put the bottom, I think I numbered the bottom ones. Is that correct? Those are going to actually be on the board for you, on the overhead. The top ones are lettered. You got to just figure out what I'm saying. Good luck. I put some letters to help you hint to that, but it's not going to be up there. So I'll try to emphasize those if you want to have those written down, but it's not going to be up there, so good luck. But we're in James chapter 4, verses 13 through 17. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a place or a city, and spend a year there and engage in business and make a profit. Yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You are just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. And instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that. But as it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Nothing wrong with planning for the future. But in planning for the future, if we believe it's already guaranteed to us, we're arrogant. We're prideful. And the idea of the vapor isn't to make you feel insignificant, though maybe it does, because in some ways we are. But it's to make you be aware of the present. I'm here today. I could be gone tomorrow. What decision will I make today because I may not get to make it tomorrow? It's to give you an urgency of life. You hear those stories, those songs, right, where people found out that they're dying or they're terminal, and they change their life around. Suddenly, all the things they were planning to do or say or relationships that were broken they wanted to fix, it suddenly becomes urgent, doesn't it? Because they realize I have a timeline, so I have an expiration date. If I don't do it now, it won't get done. That's the problem that I face with my future thinking. I make all kinds of plans, but I forget about living in the present. I want to ask, I think she's still here. Ren, you still here? Ren, to come up here with me. We're going to sing you a song. If you are a elementary school ager and you're here, so Lucy and Alicia, if you know the Zacchaeus song, and you will join me up here. Darius, I'm not going to call you up here, Darius. What are you running away for? If you want to help me sing this song, I would really appreciate it. Because I'm a terrible singer, and Ren's not mic'd. Yeah, anybody else? Anybody else? Going once? Going twice. All right, we're going to sing the Zacchaeus. Do you know the motions for this song?
Yes.
The motions? You know the song? Zacchaeus. Okay, we'll just follow my lead, okay? Or follow her lead. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in... Now, time out. This is Bible times. Okay, they didn't put a ladder against the tree. Did y'all do that? You climb the ladder like this when you were growing up? I don't know. See, I had to climb a tree yesterday, didn't I?
Yeah.
For a cat. I had to jump up, and I grabbed that branch... I put my leg over the top of that branch, and I shimmied around, okay? So we're going to do it that way. Ready? It's more realistic. Yeah, just something, turn around, do it. It's fine. Ready? Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Oh, just how we do it? He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. Sorry, pardon my off key. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree, and he said, Zacchaeus, you come down. For I'm going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today. Hey, good job, guys. Thanks so much. Awesome. Let's sit down. That was fun. Hey, we're going to talk about this. If we are going to be present, we have to be something. Because that's the challenge. We have to be present. Have any of you, this is stereotypical, I know that, but most of you, husband and wives, most of you would say yes to this. Has your husband ever been present but not present? Yes. My wife yelled yes. We have a rule in my house, don't we, Leah? Don't judge me. If I'm playing video games and we're talking, it doesn't count. I am not held accountable for our conversation when I'm playing games. Some of you, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. She'll come in here and say, example, hey, Sam, would you let the dogs out? Absolutely. I know that I hear her. I'm responding I have no clue beyond the 5 seconds of what she actually said. No idea. I was in front of her. I am not present. And she'll leave and come back. Why are the dogs still in here? Because they're still in. Why wouldn't they be still in here? I just told you. Oh, yeah, you didn't pause the game. Sam, pause the game. Look at me. Okay, yes. Okay. So it's gotten better in our years of marriage. I'm not saying that it hasn't. Don't judge me, people. You already are. But the idea is, we know that. We can be in front of you or in front of somebody, and they're not there. They're gone. They're somewhere else. And being a daydreamer, I live that every day of my life. I'm always somewhere else. But we have to be present because God is present. God is everywhere at once. He's omnipresent. He is all places, but he's also invested. He's involved all the time as well. Because God is present. And Christ, in this Zacchaeus story we're going to read, I think he shows 5 ways, if not more. There aren't just 5, I'm sure. He shows 5 ways that he is present in this account of what takes place in Luke chapter 19. Verse 1. He, being Jesus, entered Jericho. Okay. And we'll just keep going. And was passing through. We're going to stop there for just a minute. He entered Jericho and was passing through. The question we should ask is, where is he going? The answer is Jerusalem. This is towards the end of Luke. And at the end of Luke, he is crucified and raised again. He's heading to Jerusalem for his eventual, not far away, death. That's right there in the future. So Christ, Jesus, is passing through Jericho to get to where he's going. There are people all around him. They want to know Jesus. They want to talk to him. He just performed all kinds of miracles in 18 and 17. They want to know who this guy is. He's almost famous, or he is famous. He's passing through. Now, when we drive to Florida, I take 75, which is stupid. I know that. Because it goes through what big city? Atlanta. I pass through Atlanta. I don't stop in Atlanta. I don't care what time of the day it is. We plan our trip around what time we go and hit Atlanta. If it's wrong time, we stop somewhere and get a long lunch. We just try to go around it. We don't want to go through Atlanta. We're never going to stop in Atlanta. If the kids have to go potty, they're holding it. We're passing through Atlanta. We don't stop for meals in Atlanta. It's a nightmare. Because first of all, I want to get to where I'm going. Plus, Atlanta's a nightmare. Jesus is passing through Jericho. And there was a man called by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and he was rich. That was in your notes. Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was and was unable because of the crowd, for he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree in order to see him, for he was about to pass through that way. So So let's picture this. Jesus is walking. He's passing through. There's crowds all around him wanting his attention, biting for his time. They want to know him, be close to him, because being close to this guy makes me more righteous, makes me more holy. Maybe a piece of his holiness will come onto me. So they want to get close to this guy named Jesus because being close to him makes me more important, or because he's so important, I have to be close to him. And the crowd is so big, this little guy cannot get through. But he wants to. He needs to. Something about this guy. Did you see how that was read? He said, who was trying to see who Jesus was. Not just to see Jesus. I want to know who he is. That's crucial. That's huge. Because many people in the world know Jesus. They don't know who he is. Zacchaeus wants to know. And so he can't get through the crowd, so he goes way ahead of the parade, climbs a tree, and he's waiting. Now, if he wants to know who Jesus is, tell me, do you think he's passively waiting in the tree, hiding behind the bushes or the branches? He's actively searching for this guy. He's leaning his head out, probably getting the smallest part of the branches he can to see who this guy is. He's looking for something. Verse 5, when Jesus came to the place, he looked up. Jesus, with the crowd all around him, passing through, his death looming just in the future, stops. He's aware. Why? Because he's present. And he sees this guy, Zacchaeus, and they have a conversation. Well, a one-sided conversation. The rest of that, verse 5. He looked up and he said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for today I must stay at your house. And he hurried and came down and received him gladly. Okay, many of us, let's be honest, we're aware sometimes. Okay, we know there's a guy in the tree who is looking for something, and we know we have the answer for that something. We're aware of that, but we don't do anything about it. We just keep walking. Because in this account, Jesus is aware and he's intentional. I use that word a lot, intentional. You have to be intentional if you're going to be present. So Jesus is aware and he becomes intentional. He steps forward, so to speak, to talk to Zacchaeus. Verse 7, when they saw it, they all began to grumble, saying, he is gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. It also says, he is gone to find lodging in the house of a sinner. Remember, he's a tax collector and he's rich. Probably he's rich because he is a tax collector. They're known for defrauding people. They tell you you owe more money than you actually do, and they pocket the difference, and they get wealthy off this. They're the scum of the area. No one wants to talk to a tax collector. Probably why they wouldn't let him through the crowd, because get out of here. Not interested. And so the crowd who, let's be honest, guys, if you're a leader, you need people to follow you, right? Or you're just taking a hike, they say. And so this crowd is following him. Essentially, this crowd is giving Christ more influence from the life, from the viewpoint of the world. This crowd is giving Christ more power. And in talking to this sinner, Christ loses influence. And he loses, I forgot the word all of a sudden. Wow. I know it's a C, I don't know what it is. What's that? Nope, not community. I'll come to it in a minute. But he loses influence with this crowd because suddenly they're grumbling. It says essentially, another way to say that is they are complaining incessantly. about this holy man is going to be with a sinner. But we are the ones who've been following him. We're the ones who give him power and control, give him influence. He does it anyway. He's intentional. Sometimes in church, I think churches for many, many years, across the world, have struggled with this idea of if we're going to be present with the people that God has asked us to be present with, other people get unhappy with us. And we lose influence with the people who are coming to the church. I'm just going to tell you this. If as we step out of ourselves and are trying to do what God has asked us to do, to be missional, to help people who don't know who Christ is, if in doing that offends you or bothers you or it makes it inconvenient for you, I'm just going to be bold and says, you're probably in the wrong church. And I'm terrified of saying that because we lose our influence if you leave. But I'm okay with that. I have no doubt that most of you here, if not all of you here, you want to be where Christ is calling you to be. I don't want to be like the crowd. Because the crowd, people left when Jesus stepped out of the crowd and talked to the sinner. People left I'm going back home. He isn't who we thought he was. Because this guy is not holy in the tree, and if he was, he would not be around him. But Christ is being aware, and Christ is being intentional. Verse 8, Zacchaeus stopped and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, half of my possessions I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will give back 4 times as much." We have no idea of the conversation that took place between Zacchaeus and Christ. No clue. All we know is out of that conversation, out of that time spent, Zacchaeus is changed. I think we can assume that Jesus invested in Zacchaeus. He was present, he was aware, he was intentional, and then he invested his time. There's times, guys, going to the store, I see someone who I just feel very strongly God is calling me to do or say something to them. And I'm aware of it. Okay, I'll step forward, I'll be intentional, but I don't want to do what I know needs to happen. So I'll buy them a hamburger and I'll leave. I don't invest. It's hard, it takes time. Most of us, let's be honest, it won't take one meal. It may take many, many, many meals. If we're going to be present, we have to be invested and be intentional about it. And we have to be aware. Another way of translating this also is, it says, "Lord, half of my possessions I will give." It's some grammar. It's a present active indicative, which means it is actually saying is, I am giving. Lord, I am giving half of what I have away to the poor. And I am giving the rest. I will pay back I am paying back 4 times what I stole from other people. He has changed. It's not a future, okay, I'm already changed, he's saying, and I'm doing it now. It's already going to happen. Because Christ invested. Verse 9. And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost." Zacchaeus is changed. And Christ didn't just say, "Good, I'm out. Job's done." He responds. You gotta be responsive. Because the work isn't done yet. It's not a one and done deal. It's a continued relationship in being present. And Jesus responds to Zacchaeus, and he tells him, today you have been saved. You've been changed. And yeah, he's God in human form. Yeah, he has a leg up on us, but nothing he does here is supernatural, apart from maybe knowing the man's name in advance. That's it. Anybody could have seen a guy hanging out of the tree trying to see who you are. Not supernatural. Just means being aware. He wants something. Let's talk about that. Intentional, investing. And as they communicate and talk and you share life together, you respond to them day after day after day. And then in all of this, we have to be available. If we aren't available, none of this works. In college, it was a small college, and so we would pass by in hallways with people, pass by people in the hallways often. And you'd ask this question out of habit, how's your day going? Or how's it going? And you just keep walking by. You don't want an answer. You're just being nice. How's it going? And you keep walking. Right? I'm not available. How can I even be present if I'm not available? I decided, 4 years into college, because I had a 6-year degree. It's in 4 years. 4 years, 6 years to get. I'm a slow processor, right? Or I'm just not committed. I don't know, one of those two. And so I decided in year 4, I'm going to, if they begin talking to me, I don't care where I'm going, I don't care where I've been, I'm going to stop and talk. So I tried it one time, and I missed my class. So I started saying this instead. Good to see you today. Good to see you today, because there's no response involved. I'm still not available. We have to be available. If we're going to be present, we have to be. It sounds exhausting. It sounds like a lot of work. And it kind of is. But Zacchaeus' life was changed. You think it's worth it? If we can just get out of ourselves, get out of what's hurting us or where we want to go back to or where we're going and what's ahead of us and just say, I can no longer think about what I want or what I desire, because what does Christ want? He came to save and to seek and to save the lost. He was present. We have to be too. It's a world dying. And if you know Christ, if you're saved by his blood and by who he is and what he did for you, and you feel like you don't want to be a part of seeking and saving the lost, then we don't really need you at Big Lake. And so if you were to leave, I don't want you to leave, don't hear me saying that, but if you were to leave and lose our influence, I have no doubt if you're a believer, you'll find another church to be in, and there are plenty of churches that will give you what you want. Not hard to find that. But we're choosing as a church, as a body, as a family, to be present wherever we are. In our community, in our homes, in our workplace, at Walmart. So can you, as you approach life, and as you go to Walmart and you're in the checkout aisle, can you be present? Will you? Because the answer is yes, you can be. But will you? As his team comes up for our last song, I want to encourage you guys. This is not to bash it. It's an exciting thing. It's an exciting thing because when you begin to change and you begin focusing on the now, the future and the past, they play a part in all those things. They're not exclusive. When we begin to look at life differently, things are going to happen. And lives will be changed. And man's souls will be saved. Not because of our power, but because of God's power. But if we aren't available, how can God use us?